Okay, thank you, Sinead. It's great to be here today to talk about AI and its impact on brand perception and reputation. Yeah, and here we are. That's myself and Trisha will be the ones doing the presentation today. And as Sinead said, we both work at LiveWorld. So first, a little bit of information about LiveWorld. We're an agency that helps healthcare companies unlock the power of digital and social media. We have a range of products and services that build on a foundation of proactive compliance, dynamic engagement, and strategic insight. And all of those things help our clients get the most out of digital and social media programs. We're also an agency that spent quite a lot of time over the last year, almost year and a half now, I guess, thinking about AI, both in terms of its impact on our own business, but also its impact on our clients' business. And we think that the impact is going to be pretty significant and worth us all spending some little bit of time today thinking about. Today's topics are going to be, first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about AI search and how it's different, why that matters and what it means for you. Then we're going to look at the top 50 OTC AI Brand Reputation Index and look at the brands that are 50 leading OTC brands and see how you're all doing in terms of your AI brand reputation. And then Trish is going to talk about how you can adapt your media strategy to take into account this new world that we live in, this new AI reality. And we're going to start with a poll question, which is coming here. How concerned are you about the way AI platforms currently represent your brand? Are you very concerned, somewhat concerned, not concerned, or not sure? I will give you a little bit of time to come up with an answer. I feel like I should be playing the Jeopardy music or something. All right, let's see how we're doing. Oh, and well, 88% of the people are very or somewhat concerned, which I think is correct, because I do think that the changes AI is leading to are significant and worth spending some time on, as I said. Oops, sorry, went too far. So AI is definitely transforming what it means to search. And specifically, what it's doing is it's giving answers and not lists. And that may seem like not a particularly important thing, but it turns out that that is pretty important. If you think about it a little bit more, think about a traditional search versus an AI search. A traditional search is what we're all familiar with. It's a list of things that you have to, a list of links, and you look at the links that are presented and you click on the ones that you're most interested in. It's not a lot of work, but it's some work, and you may be distracted by ads that you don't want to see and sponsored links that you don't want to click on. You have to do a little bit more work to get what you want to get. Whereas an AI-powered response just gives you an answer. And so it's much more overall user-friendly, and I think much more satisfying as a user to get the answer from AI than it was from a traditional list. And just to sort of put an accent on that, on the left-hand side is a traditional search, and then on the right-hand side is the AI equivalent. So if the question was, what is the most effective OTC treatment for a headache? On the left-hand side, here you actually don't get any sponsored links, but you get a list of 4 different places, good places to go to get the answer. On the right-hand side, in this case, it's ChatGPT. ChatGPT is giving you the full answer with pictures of summarizing it in a nice little table. None of this was asked for. It's just deciding that this is the way it's going to present the information. So, when we started thinking about AI back in the day, we're mostly thinking about how ChatGPT was different from Google search. And, at the time, certainly, and still, there's not that many people using ChatGPT. So it didn't seem necessarily like such a big issue that we'd have to be concerned with right away. It's something that could be sort of something to think about for the future. But what's happened now is that Google has seen the sort of writing on the wall, seen the threat that ChatGPT presents, given that it's presenting something which is much more user-friendly, and has adapted its own way of presenting information to also use AI to produce results. So in that previous slide where I was showing you what on the left-hand side the Google search would have been, in fact, what Google does now is it presents ahead of that most of the time its own equivalent AI answer, which is also a summary of what's going on, and which also means that people don't have to click even when using Google. So we're in a world where oftentimes more than half of the time, people do not have to click to what's called a zero-click world. And you can see from the quote on the right-hand side, Google is all in on this, as Philip Schindler says. US AI mode is a total reimagining of search. It expands what AI overviews can do with more advanced reasoning and multimodality, as well as conversational follow-ups. Lots of big words. Available as a new tab directly in search. Together, AI overviews and AI mode are the cutting edge of what search can do. Google is going all in on this too. So it's not just a phenomenon now that is limited to ChatGPT and the other LLMs. It's something that applies across the board. In summary, oops, too far. In summary, AI just delivers a better user experience, and it is where all search is going to go. One thing about AI too is, however, is that it doesn't know everything. I'm not going to be talking today about, how it can give wrong answers or can do hallucinations or all those things that people have been talking about. Rather, I want to focus on where it gets its information from, and that also I think has important implications, because basically what ChatGPT can access, or what it can't access, it can access publicly available information, and it cannot access generally non-publicly available information. So it can see Reddit, it can see Twitter, X, it can see Facebook Organic and these other things here, but it can't see Amazon reviews, it can't see things like Sermo Doximity or any kind of private communities that are not open to the public. And this is important because if you kind of make the logical link, like more and more people are going to use AI to search for answers. AI is going to give answers. More people are going to rely on those answers or not bother to investigate further than what the answers are that AI gives. But AI is only taking its answers from these limited number of places. Then you've got to think to yourself as a marketer, I need to be in those places. Otherwise, the answers that people are going to get is not going to reflect everything, and it's not going to reflect what we want to say about our brand. So, as I said here, the old strategies aren't going to work as well. There's a decline going to be decline in search traffic. We've already seen this. Paid content is going to be filtered out. The value of keywords is declining. So new strategies have to be adopted that take into account how AI works, and assess your brand strength from an AI perspective and focus on publicly available content. And Tricia is going to talk a lot more about this in her section. That's the sort of the first part of the presentation, which talks about how AI searches and why AI search is important, why it's important to adapt your strategies or start thinking about how AI is going to affect how you go to market. One way of, or one important component of this is to understand how well you're currently doing in terms of your AI brand reputation and brand perception, how to set a baseline, how to compare yourself to other people, how to benchmark. And that's the purpose of the AI Brand Reputation Index. We're just about to publish the OTC Brand Reputation Index. We previously published one for pharma. And the AI Brand Reputation Index for OTC is looking at 50 leading OTC brands. But before we jump into the results of the index, I want to spend a little bit of time saying, why brand reputation? Why did we pick that metric as the metric? And the reason is that it's a good single metric to use to reflect what people are thinking about your brand, or more importantly, in this case, what AI is saying about your brand. So you can get a sort of understanding of where you're starting off from. Brand reputation is built through customer experiences, media coverage, social media presence, things like that. And importantly, it's a blend of facts, fact that can be of how effective is your product, but also a lot of opinion and what people are saying about you on Reddit, for example. So it's a good way of bringing together all of the things that people are saying and thinking about your brand. And the way that we put the index together is to look at 4 primary reputation drivers that we think cover the gamut of all the things that go to make up your brand reputation. So they boil down to 4 areas: product satisfaction and effectiveness, brand trust and sentiment, visibility, marketing strength, and accessibility and value. And as we use ChatGPT and other LLMs, we focused on those reputation drivers to come up with the brand reputation score. So as I said, we've looked at the top 50 or 50 leading OTC brands rather than just, well, we've done it by organizing by category. So we've got 10 categories with 5 brands each. We looked at ChatGPT, we looked at Perplexity and also Claude. We put weighted scores. We don't consider all those reputations and drivers I just shared to be equally important. So we've weighted the scores not only for the drivers themselves, but also in the share of search that ChatGPT is much bigger, for example, than Perplexity and Claude. So we took that into account. And we did 2 data set runs to make sure that the results of the scores were consistent from 2 different runs. And the report looks at the leading brands overall and also by category. So without further ado, number 1 brand in this top 50 OTC reputation index is CeraVe. It's followed by Neutrogena, Advil, Nature Made, and Pepto-Bismol. And what made CeraVe number 1 is just its overall, it scores well in every category. It's first of all, skincare itself was the leading overall category. All of the brands in the skincare category we looked at did well. It has very strong product satisfaction, and it's also doing very well from a marketing standpoint, especially with social media. As I said, we looked at the top brands by different categories. So we got, as you can see here, 10 different categories, from pain relief to feminine care. And you can see the leading brands in each of those categories on this sheet. The report goes into a little bit of detail about, other things that drove the scores and other sort of insights that we got from doing the work. Some of them are on this sheet here. First of all, that in some of social media, TikTok and Instagram seem to be very influential in terms of brand reputation. Value, not surprising, I suppose, is an important driver. Heritage brands overall seem to do pretty well. So that longevity in the market, it definitely seems to be a factor people are familiar with and build a relationship with, and sort of the reputation for a brand like that sticks with it. And also we saw that natural brands, whatever the category, really seem to do pretty well. Strategic takeaways are, I think, looking at the report, but also looking at the what I talked about in the first part of the section, it's really an important time now to think about marketing programs as they relate to AI search and reset accordingly. I think it is helpful and useful to invest in reputation monitoring to see how well you're doing, see where the strengths and weaknesses are, see what the opportunities are to improve reputation or to address things that are identified as being concerns. I also think to optimize AI search and content is important, and enhance digital and social presence. I think, this is one of those moments where, the cards have sort of, in a way, been thrown up in the air. It's really an opportunity to jump ahead. If you can get on top of this AI thing quicker than somebody else, so you have an advantage that you might be able to leverage. And this is a little bit of a plug for us. We do have a suite of LiveWorld brand reputation products. So we have the indices. This is one of them, as I said, but we also do customized reports and snapshot reports, which provide just a short, quick overview of how well your brand is doing. So if you're interested in that, do follow up with us afterwards. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tricia to talk about how to evolve your paid media strategy.
Great. I think we have one more poll question that we want to ask before I start. Okay, so poll number 2, what best describes your organization's current approach to managing AI-driven brand perception? Do you actively monitor and influence AI outputs, or are you in the exploring stage of how to start? Are you relying on your traditional SEO and PR strategies? Or the last one, we're not addressing this yet. Let's see. Great, looks like most of you guys are in the exploration stage. And then if you're not addressing it yet, that's okay. We're going to actually give you some strategies and some input on how to address this. It's very confusing. It's moving very fast, and I totally understand how, just figuring out where to start can be a challenge. But hopefully you can address this and involving some of your paid media strategy in this changing world. So if you want to go to the next slide, I'm going to address first off how AI overviews are affecting paid search. What we're seeing initially in the AI overviews is that the quality of clicks that are coming to your site has is actually increasing. So there's finding that the quality of people coming to the site are spending more time and actually are better leads previously. But the big con of this is that we're seeing lower click-through rates. So again, the zero click-throughs, and then organic search results are being pushed down. When you actually do a traditional Google search with an AI overview, especially on your mobile, on your smartphone, you see that the real estate for that information is being pushed down. Usually 50% of the page is being taken over by that Google AI overview. So real estate is becoming much more sought after and much more competitive. Is pushing our organic search results further down the page, minimizing visibility for even solidly ranked pages. Brands are facing unprecedented challenges in maintaining visibility and message control. So brands must adapt both their paid search and SEO strategies to maintain relevance in this new reality. It's even more important to actually have a paid and organic strategy in this environment. The two are going to have to work much harder to get that person's attention. So I'm going to first address some strong SEO principles and some key critical pain points that we're finding in this new reality, and hopefully I'll give you some pointers on how to address this and combat this. I'm going to go to the next slide. We're finding in the critical pain points in this environment that first, there's a diminishing control over brand narratives in AI search environments because ChatGPT and other LLMs are scouring the internet looking for information. There's less control over the brand narratives in AI search environments. You need to have proactive management to convey your carefully crafted messages, because those can be diluted or even misrepresented when filtered in these new AI-driven search interfaces. And this is really important to how people and consumers perceive and understand your brand. You want to have as much control as possible in this environment. Traditionally, many pharma brands have taken a defensive posture in this environment. They've been more like a wait and see approach. It's because it's changing so fast and the information is coming out so it's readily available. I think taking that defensive strategy could actually hurt your brand quite a bit. We really recommend taking an offensive strategy. Yes, there's prioritizing risk mitigation can be important, but I think if you don't address and have an aggressive growth strategy, effectively leveraging AI search capabilities, you will lose out on getting that greater impression share and patient engagement because other brands are doing it. You will be left behind. Without a strategy, you will have insufficient visibility into the evolving brand perception. As search behavior evolves, there is less control on how accurately to track how brands are being perceived in these new AI influenced environments. And they'll create blind spots in understanding your market positioning or how your brand is being perceived in the greater environment. Remember, ChatGPT will obviously and always provide an answer regardless of the situation. So I think the best case scenario is we can't control it 100% of what is being on the output side, but what we can do is influence it to best get the strongest information, most accurate information. So when ChatGPT or those LLMs output an answer, that'll be most accurately represented of your brand. The next slide. What LiveWorld's offering is a search perceptive optimization solution. And this is what we're offering to help brands grow and shift in this new reality. We're offering an integrated approach that delivers transformative benefits through strategic AI optimized visibility, proactive reputation management across search touchpoints. Also offering comprehensive intelligence that reveals actionable insights and strategic visibility into the AI search landscape. Our solution combines broad match search strategies with Google's AI search capabilities to drastically and dramatically increase your brand's visibility. By implementing the Google Share model platform, we'll achieve strong positioning, strategic positioning against key competitors while trying to maintain strict message control. We also offer proactive brand perception management. This goes beyond visibility. We implement ongoing search query monitoring with also sentiment analysis to protect your brand reputation. Our strategic negative keyword implementation and responsive ad optimization ensures that your brands and products maintain a positive association and have appropriate context. Lastly, the comprehensive competitive intelligence solution drives actionable insights about your position relative to competitors through impression share metrics, share of voice tracking, and sentiment trend analysis across key target segments. So in gathering this intelligence, we're relying for targeted strategy adjustments and increasing market presence while protecting our brand integrity. So what we're trying to offer is to see where we stand against other competitors, also where there are gaps in those perception management, where we could fill in those gaps, while seamlessly integrating this with their existing operations and plans. I want to show you an example on the next slide of how paid search is evolving. Google's marketing summit was held at the end of May, and they had most of it, I think most of the content was structured around AI, how's it affecting Google search. Google search is critical. I mean, 90% of users use Google search on a monthly basis or a daily basis. They gave an example of what they're trying to accomplish and with Google AI overviews. And mostly what's trying to accomplish is that discovery phase. What I call the discovery phase, previously in traditional search, you would type in, for example, how to bring small dogs on flights. And previously it would just link you to like an FAA website or maybe a website specializing in this type of content. You would like go to those two websites, try to read through the different articles on the website and just look through trying to find the correct information. Now, what they're trying to do is bridge that timeline from discovery to intent faster, giving the one-stop solution and having that information be helpful and not interrupted. So now, for example, is how to bring small dogs on flights. The Google AI analysis is breaking down your query to understand informationally how to help you. And also, this is where the paid search is going to evolve and commercial needs. So immediately in that AI overview, you'll receive the airline policies, tips for flying pets. And now at the bottom of that AI overview, you will receive ads on approved airline pet carriers that will appear at the right moment. So what they're trying to decipher is that, oh, you might not have brought your small dog on a flight before, and they're offering you a link to Amazon or another vendor selling those FAA approved pet carriers. So they're trying to bring that discovery to intent phase immediately versus having you hunt around and peck for it, and then maybe a couple minutes or a couple days down the line, actually purchase that carrier. What this is leading to is that we're leading to one-click instant answers. And also the result is having zero-click search results. Because these answers are often satisfying user intent, the user is no longer clicking through to external websites since they're finding all the answers at once. And at the end of 2024, we found that 60% of Google searches in the US ended without a click. And I'm sure as AI overviews are continue to increase, that percentage will increase as well. And it's also dominating the results page. So we're seeing a decrease in our paid ad performance, also decrease in ad visibility and rising costs with competition. It's also affecting our organic traffic. We're seeing, because nobody's clicking through to any external websites, we're seeing a decrease in people going through to your website and then just looking at content without any clicks. What we're suggesting to you is, how do we combat this in this evolving world? Yes, we could be involved in, obviously, to be at the right moment for ads to appear in the right moment for when it's most useful. But there's also some traditional strategies that we can help you shore up so that you could mostly influence AI. I'm going to go to the next slide. One of the easiest ways to do this is your SEO strategies. These are your organic strategies. These are your own websites. So on your own website, how to best position yourself for LLMs and AI bots to look at your website, get the right information, is to really own the category. So when we're talking about, for example, ranking not just for keywords, but also becoming a content expert on subject matters that are relevant. So for example, if your site's talking about dog training, don't just write about how to train a dog, but also cover other techniques like leash techniques, behavior psychology, training tools, building out these content cluster articles that are interconnected, that like fully relate to other related subtopics, will help you become the expert in that category and not just be linear in one topic. It's just becoming experts in all these topics surrounding the content of your website. What AI cannot replicate is the human experience, also including real life experiences, expert quotes, unique data, any sort of case studies, you have any sort of original videos with strong opinions, that's also a way for to AI proof your content by having that human touch that doesn't tend to be captured with AI. Refreshing your content regularly so that your website is fresh and also has that content that's relevant. Don't just be stagnant with your content, refresh it on a weekly or monthly basis. And also looking at measurement. This is what we're coming up with different measurement for metrics for success. Now that AI is leading to zero clicks, using strong branding in your titles and meta descriptions. Another way to combat this is offering downloadable resources like a free template or guide to incentivize visitors to still click through to your website and spend time is also a way to get that traffic to your website.
That's what we have.
So we do have a few questions in our Q&A, but this opportunity, if you have any questions for our speakers, go ahead and drop those and we'll get to them. During your presentation, we got a few, so I'll start off with the first one we received. Why can't AI see Amazon reviews, and does AI read websites?
AI can read what is publicly available, what is made publicly available. So for the Amazon reviews are not, and so therefore that's why it can't review those. Websites, yes, can be reviewed and are. In fact, that's a primary source of information, and that's why when Tricia was just talking right now, that one of the strategies is to make content available via websites, so that AI can find that.
Next question we got was, how is this different from traditional SEO?
Tricia, I think.
So yeah, so traditional, I mean, traditional SEO, you talk about, you know, it's a little bit, it blends traditional SEO, but try building out a little bit more to cater to the LLMs. It's actually writing content so that the ChatGPT and other LLMs can actually look at your website and actually digest the content faster and easier. That's what we're some of the, if you go deeper into some of the strategies that we're looking for, like structured content is another way doing this to make sure that AI can digest your content faster and being more easier for it to digest, clear structured content, schema markups to help AI understand the context, you know, FAQs. It's almost like writing and structuring your website so that it can be digested easier by an LLM and scored easier by ChatGPT and other models. That's a little different than traditional SEO, where we would look at backlinks and different, even some sort of content that we would place. We're actually structuring what we're trying to encourage our clients is to structure the SEO for an LM or for an AI model.
Okay, great. A question we received, do you have any suggestions for influencing overviews that we do not own?
Like for example, like a Reddit, it's actually to be monitoring, I would say social moderation and monitoring those platforms, because especially in Reddit, there's a lot of topics that are being discussed about different brands, is to be active and monitoring like what's being said about those, like on those sites. That's a suggestion that we have, is just, you know, to be aware of what's going on in those social platforms. So that is being monitored by AI, but that's one suggestion we have. I don't know, Martin, if you have other suggestions.
Well, I think when it's appropriate and in the right kind of way, if you can participate in those same conversations too. I mean, it's tricky and can be counterproductive, but I mean, I think that's something that should be considered.
Okay, great. Next question. How is your reputation report different from conventional brand measurement?
So traditionally, brand reputation is certainly something that's been around for a long time, and it's certainly a way in which companies have looked at brands. I think the difference is that traditionally a brand reputation would have had to have been established through surveys or through focus groups to find out what people think. This brand reputation, AI brand reputation, is more about what AI tools are actually saying. So it's that's the difference. So this brand reputation report is summarizing information from, summarizing information from what AI is actually finding on sources like Reddit that we just talked about. The other difference too is that when you're doing a survey or when you're doing a questionnaire or a focus group, that's a relatively small group of people, and it's at one moment of time. Whereas this brand reputation is almost real time and will be constantly changing. So if a brand has suddenly, some sort of bad news, crisis event, that will be reflected in the AI brand reputation very quickly.
Thank you, Martin. Our last question we received is, how granular would a brand reputation report get?
The one that we just shared today, the top 50 index, is obviously gives a score, gives a brand reputation score, gives a little bit of analysis and insight, but not that much. When you look at you take an individual brand, you can go to much more granular information, down to finding verbatims that have people say, report back on what people are actually saying on Reddit or Twitter or whatever. There's a much deeper dive in terms of sentiment. We can look at sentiment by category of users, so consumers compared to pharmacists, for example. A much deeper dive into all of that, and a much more attention paid to sort of benchmarking one brand against a competitive set, so that you really get a better understanding of the sort of strengths and weaknesses, opportunities that you have versus a competitive set.